Part 168. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1676. I didn't expect that in the northern immortal realm, these Xianxian of the immortal emperor's mansion would also know so many secrets. The key is that the information revealed has overturned many of Zuyun's previous guesses. What shocked him the most was that whether it was the Mayan Bay fairyland or the speculations about other major fairyland, it showed that the fairyland today was extremely unstable. Their purpose in stopping him was just to prevent him from becoming a spy. He forced himself to calm down and listen to these female fairies continue to guess about him, and at the same time he got more information. After a long time, some female fairies returned here and said that they could not find Zuyun. The responsible female fairy said, it seems that they were most likely sent by the Dongfang immortal emperor's mansion. This kind of method can be seen from the fact that they wiped out the entire Situ family in this fairyland without being discovered. Then shall we inform the immortal general? It seems that our Deluo golden immortal realm is not enough. Let me inform the immortal general directly. The female fairy took out a jade talisman from her arms, and then whispered a few times, apparently passing on their guesses. Zuyun couldn't help but become nervous. He was able to hide from Xianxian because the chaos immortal power was transformed into wood immortal power. But if immortal Tian comes, can he still hide it? And most importantly, if he couldn't hide it anymore, would he still be alive? But right now, there are more than 10 Xianxian here, and even if he wants to escape, it may not be that easy. His wood escape technique, which allows him to escape from one tree to another, will definitely reveal his magical power. What to do? Zuyun was extremely confused and decided to wait and see for the time being. If it doesn't work, just escape into the universe world. Otherwise, what else can we do? After all, I still don't have enough realm. Only by understanding the laws of time and space can I possibly break through to Xianxian, right? Zuyun sighed slightly in his heart, but had to cheer up. A moment later, another white light came. The aura emitted by this white light is far more terrifying than the previous female cultivators combined. I've seen the immortal general. Listening to the voices of the female fairies, Zuyun also looked over. You said that a spy from the Dongfang immortal emperor's palace has sneaked into the emperor's realm again. Emperor realm is the abbreviation of immortal emperor realm. Yes, sir, when that man was about to reach the emperor's realm, his subordinates discovered it and took 2 people to stop him and ordered him to go back the same way. But who would have thought that that man was proficient in the laws of thunder and lightning, and his speed was faster than my subordinates must be faster. Even though they summoned more than 10 people to pursue him, he still fell into this place and was never heard from again. Lightning Law. Luo Tianchang frowned slightly, but suddenly looked at the ancient tree hidden by Zuyun. Zuyun felt chills all over his body, as if her eyes were reaching the extreme low temperature. But at this moment, immortal Luo Tianzhan smiled and said, if you are not from the Dongfang immortal emperor's mansion, you should all return to your place. Sir, this. Why, my general's words don't work. Immortal Luo Tian raised his eyebrows, and the tone of his rhetorical question was very soft, but it was filled with endless majesty. Don't dare. All the female fairies knelt down quickly, and immortal Luo Tian became a little rude. Get out of here, general. They fall out when they say they are going to fall out, just like the laws of the ice system they have shown. The female fairies turned into white light and dispersed. Immortal Luo Tian then walked straight to Zuyun and said lightly, a golden fairy can escape from so many men of this general and still be able to hide it their immortal knowledge. Boy, you are really good at this. Zuyun didn't dare to say anything. Immortal Luo Tian changed the subject and said, why, do you still need me to personally invite you out? After saying that, she stretched out her hand directly on the tree trunk, and a burst of extreme ice power followed. The whole tree turned into a frost-covered tree in an instant, and the ice power continued to move towards it. The blessing clouds in the trees gather together and go away. Xiaoxian doesn't dare, but I hope Xianxian will forgive me. Zuyun knew that he couldn't escape, so he showed his body and bowed to the Luo Tianshang immortal. You know the truth. Luo Tianshang's eyebrows relaxed and he chuckled, where did you come from, immortal, and why did you come to my northern imperial realm? Back to the immortal, Zuyun said, neither humble nor arrogant. The immortal came from the southern immortal realm and wanted to go to Purgatory Mountain, so he passed by here. The immortal has never been to the northern imperial realm, so the immortals misunderstood. Immortal Luo Tian nodded and said, I believe your words because you don't have any aura about you that would make us at the imperial realm doubt Fang. Shangxian Mingjian. Zuyun finally breathed a sigh of relief. You don't need to be so polite. Our northern imperial realm is not an unreasonable place. The main reason is that the immortal realm is not stable. If you, a loose immortal, come here and are not familiar with it, you will naturally cause trouble. Immortal Luo Tian nodded slightly. Zuyun understood, and asked quickly, please give me some advice. I can't tell you what to say. She retracted her gaze, looked into the distance, and said, do you know the Mayan Bay fairyland? Xiaoxian is hiding here and heard those immortals mention it. When he was discovered to be here, he naturally did not dare to hide anything, lest he arouse the Luo Tian immortal to suspect his ulterior motives. Recently, the incident of the Mayan Bay fairy kingdom has been widely circulated among us immortals. It is said that mysterious things will appear in it. Now, the Mayan Bay fairy kingdom is on the border of our northern fairyland and the western fairyland, and the western fairyland the emperor has obviously coveted that place. Zuyun suddenly became more vigilant when he mentioned this for no reason. Shangxian means. Don't you understand what I mean? Zuyun said in shock, exalted immortals, small immortals cannot reach the realm of golden immortals. If they enter the Mayan Bay immortal kingdom, wouldn't they? We people from the northern immortal emperor's mansion are not unreasonable. Tell me, why do you want to go to Purgatory Mountain? We can help you with it, so of course you can help us with our trip to Mayan Bay immortal kingdom. The immortal, how can the little immortal be so virtuous and capable? He had no idea what was going on in the Mayan Bay fairyland now. What was the difference between going here and dying? Besides, he hasn't found Mengwei yet. If he goes, who knows when he can see her again? I don't know if you have virtue or not, but there is absolutely no question about your ability. Firstly, you used the law of thunder and lightning to escape the pursuit of my subordinates. Secondly, if I hadn't had this mysterious wood escape technique of yours, even with magical powers, it is difficult to detect your existence. There are many hiding places in Mayan Bay Fairy Kingdom, which is perfect for you. No wonder he wanted to send away the other subordinates. It turned out that he saw my value. Zuyun gritted his teeth and said, Shangxian, Xiaoxian went to Purgatory Mountain actually to say thank you. Immortal Luo Tian was stunned. She originally thought that Zuyun went to Purgatory Mountain just to find the warden to capture the evil immortal. But I didn't expect that it would be a thank you. Then there is no sincerity in doing it for you. She couldn't help but frowned again. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1677. Seeing this, Zuyun struck while the iron was hot and said, Shangxian, why don't you go to Purgatory Mountain first and then return to the Emperor realm? I'm not at ease, Immortal Luo Tian also said bluntly, you plunged into this unfamiliar place and were restrained by it. I am afraid that you have more mysterious methods. If you escape, I can't find a good candidate to sneak into Mayan Bay Fairy country to find out what's going on. Zuyun immediately smiled bitterly and said, Shangxian, Xiaoxian, I. In this way, Luo Tianchang said, I am not an unreasonable person. I will go with you. When you come back, you can thank me and then help me with the affairs of the immortal emperor's mansion. Of course, what I promised you before obviously it won't work, but our northern immortal emperor's mansion can accept you as a favor. As long as it's within our capabilities, we can help you complete it. The conditions she offered were extremely tempting to Zhu Yun. At least by cooperating with her, your own safety can be guaranteed. Thinking that Qiu Linjian might have a hidden intention to take advantage of him, Zhu Yun pondered for a moment and said, Xianxia, that little immortal really has something to ask for. I hope that the master can keep his promise. You agreed? Immortal Luo Tian was immediately overjoyed. His peerless appearance and smile made Zhu Yun feel a little distracted. Xianxian, Xiaoxian, and another immortal couple have been separated. I wonder if Xianxian can send someone to help find him. Looking for someone. Immortal Luo Tian suddenly frowned again and said, the immortal realm is so big, even our northern immortal realm can hardly touch other immortal realms. Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, we were separated in the southern fairyland. Moreover, my fairy couple is not impossible to find. She is, a member of the demon clan. When he said this, Zhu Yun also cheered up. As long as the other party showed a little murderous intention, he would hide in the world of Dazhu without hesitation. This is a gamble. Interesting, Immortal Luo Tian's reaction was beyond Zhu Yun's expectation. Not only was there no murderous intention as he imagined, but there was not even the slightest abnormal behavior. She continued, if it's a person from the demon clan, the scope is much smaller. What other features are there? Besides, Zhu Yun decided to take another gamble and said, she might be traveling with Sidu Qing Chen. Sidu Qing Chen? What do you mean, you were also with him originally? Yes, Sidu Qing Chen originally wanted to seek my help and send him to the Eastern Immortal Emperor's mansion, but then, something changed for some reason and we met the evil immortal, so we were forced to separate. In the southern immortal realm. Hearing this, Immortal Luo Tian asked back, then you went to Purgatory Mountain to say thank you, but in fact it was an excuse for me? Originally, you wanted to ask Purgatory Mountain for help. No, Zhu Yun shook his head and said, Xiao Xian went to Purgatory Mountain really to express gratitude. In the lower realm, the villain got the pupil technique modified by the descendants of the ancestors of the Lin family, which helped Xiao Xian a lot. Xiao Xian also promised their descendants that if they have the opportunity to go to Purgatory Mountain, they must thank them in person. I see, Immortal Luo Tian said thoughtfully, I have agreed to this matter. You will follow me first. Thank you, Immortal. Zhu Yun breathed a sigh of relief again. I was thinking too much. Previously, those Deluo Jinxian looked at the Sidu family with hindsight. Naturally, they had a bit of a bystander mentality, which made Zhu Yun unable to see their attitude towards the Sidu family. Now that Immortal Luo Tian spoke more clearly, Zhu Yun naturally understood. Following Luo Tian Xianxian all the way into the main city, they stood in front of a ruins. The ruins covering several acres still contained some residual power of law, which made Zhu Yun feel chills all over his body. See, the enemies of the Sidu family are very powerful. They may even kill Sidu Qing Chen. Are you sure you want me to help you find your immortal companion? What does the ice fairy mean? On the way here, Zhu Yun already knew her name. Ice Fat. Looking for it, Zhu Yun naturally said with certainty as it related to Menghui. Then we will help you find them, Bing Ruoji said without saying anything more, but you have to be prepared, maybe they are all dead. If he is dead, I will have no choice but to admit it. Zhu Yun took a deep breath. Good. Bing Ruoji cast an admiring look and said, you have a good character. But now that we have reached a deal, we can only do our best to obey fate. Their life and death are not decided by us. No matter what the outcome is, we have to go to Mayan Bay Fairy country. As for what to do there, we'll talk about it after we get back from Purgatory Mountain, Okay. Xiaoxian, listen to the fairy on the ice. That's right, come with me. Bing Ruoji led the way again. But this time, she brought Zuyun all the way into the immortal emperor's mansion. This is only half an hour's walk from the old site of Situ's family. It can be seen from this that the Situ family must be extraordinary. This is the immortal emperor's mansion, just follow me. Bing Ruoji gave an order and then opened the way ahead. No one dared to stop him, and everyone he met bowed to Bing Ruoji from a distance. Bing Ruoji just nodded slightly without even making a sound. After walking for another half an hour, Bing Ruoji and Zuyun appeared in a main hall. I will take you to see the immortal emperor. The immortal emperor doesn't like to talk too much. If I ask you any questions, just tell the truth and keep it short. Do you remember? Xiaoxian remembers it. Zuyun naturally remembered the instructions given in the hall, and after receiving a positive answer, Bing Ruoji pushed the door open and entered. Buzz. A mysterious fairy power rushed towards him, and Zuyun felt that the sound of ancient bells suddenly rang in his mind. Is this a law, or something else? For a moment, Zuyun was stunned in place. This kid, his realm is indeed a little weak. Bing Ruoji shook her head slightly, and then stretched out her hand and gently touched the center of Zuyun's eyebrows. A sense of coolness spread throughout his body, and Zuyun suddenly woke up. Ice fairy, little fairy. It's okay, Bing Ruoji smiled, come with me. After that, she stepped over the threshold. Zuyun hurriedly followed, but the bell rang in his mind again, but this time it had no effect. The ice power law from Bing Ruoji protected his fairy soul. While he was still conscious, Zuyun raised his head and looked through Bing Ruoji's shoulder. He saw a woman in a crystal white robe sitting on the first seat in the hall. Northern Immortal Emperor? A woman? Why, are you surprised? A leisurely and gentle voice sounded in Zuyun's ears. Before he could react, he saw Bing Ruoji kneeling on the ground in front of him. I have seen the Immortal Emperor. Bing, this boy is the best candidate to sneak into the Mayanbei Immortal Kingdom to find out the truth. As soon as the voice fell, another colder ice force enveloped Zuyun. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1678. Meet the immortal emperor. Zuyun also knelt down quickly. Is this the immortal lord? He also met Qiu Linjian before. But maybe because Qiu Linjian was injured, the aura on his body was actually not strong. Even when Zuyun met, he didn't feel any pressure at all. But at this moment, she felt that she might die at any time. Little guy, what's your name? The immortal emperor suddenly withdrew his ice power, and Zuyun relaxed all over and stood up naturally. Back to the immortal emperor, the villain Zuyun. Before the immortal emperor, he never dared to call himself a Xiaoxian. Zuyun, I seem to have heard this name somewhere. The immortal emperor held his chin up and thought, looking like a little girl. Zuyun felt strange in his heart. I first came to the northern immortal realm, where could you hear it? The key is that when I told Bing Ruoji, she didn't react like this. Your Majesty, the world of immortality is so vast that it is inevitable that there will be people with the same name, and you like to read books. Bing Ruoji also stood up and said cheerfully. Indeed, the immortal emperor nodded, retracted his gaze, and looked at Zuyun. His eyes suddenly lit up. Wonderful, you are actually the destined one. Zuyun was shocked, wondering how the other party could see it. From Qiu Linjian's words, we can know that the destined person seems to be able to get something, but when he asked, Qiu Linjian looked away and talked about him. At this time, Zuyun could only pretend to be confused and said, May I ask your Majesty, What is the destiny one? That's right, you destined ones must not know your identity, the immortal emperor explained with a sweet smile. For every world star, there is a destined one. The destined ones have a great chance of gaining the opportunity of the entire world, and may even get the world the core of wool. Such people can usually become immortals. Zuyun was shocked, but also a little disbelieving. May I ask your majesty, according to what you said, every world star has a destiny, but how many world stars are there in the immortal world? But the immortal king in the immortal world, but it's no more than 2 palms. Giggle, giggle, the immortal emperor's expression seemed to be no different from that of a girl. Hearing Zuyun's words, it was as if he had heard a joke. This smile lasted more than 10 breaths. When she stopped, she said, "Destiny, those who carry destiny, but how easy is it to carry it? Generally speaking, those who have destiny are ill-fated. And for those of you who have cultivated from the lower world and ascended to the immortal world, how many years does it usually take to ascend? Yes, you are lucky. Not to mention, you will encounter all kinds of troubles after arriving in the fairy world." Zuyun suddenly understood. Not to mention those who are destined to be immortals, there are only less than 1 in 10,000 mortals who set out to cultivate immortality. A monk's breakthrough to the nascent soul is only 1 in 10,000. When the nascent soul ascends, it is still less than 1 in 10,000. After ascending to the immortal realm, even if you can continue to practice safely, it's only a small chance. It can be seen that there are not many monks who can become that one person among the millions, not to mention that there is only one destiny person in a world star. Then your majesty, what is the destiny of the destined one? The immortal emperor changed his posture and said, "Although I am also a destiny person, I don't know destiny. If you have a chance to meet Yang, you can ask him. It's a pity that he was given by the wind and cloud thunder lord. Imprisoned. Lord of wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning." Hearing this name again, Zuyun secretly remembered it in his heart. At the same time, the young immortal emperor seemed to have some information about Yang's situation. Yes, Lord Fenjiun Thunder and Lightning actually wanted to know what the destiny was, so he trapped Yang. But Yang was indeed extraordinary. No matter what he did, he couldn't learn more about the destiny from Yang. Thing. Your Majesty, what you mean is, Yang is also a destiny person? And Lord Fenjiun Thunder and Lightning is also a destiny person. That's right, the immortal emperor nodded and said, "So, if you want to know more about destiny, it's naturally best to go to Yang. Of course, if you can understand it yourself, I hope you can tell me, how." "Of course you can." Zuyun knew that it was impossible to refute in this situation, so he even agreed. "Great," the young immortal emperor clapped her hands and stood up, saying, "In this case, you can regard me as an immortal friend. Your name is Zuyun, and my name is Beiminjiun. It means that the two of us are still destined." Zuyun's expression changed. The dignified immortal emperor, discuss friendship with him directly, this. She even took the initiative to mention her name. "Why, do you think my friend Beiminjiun has humiliated you? If I hadn't known that you had an immortal companion, I might not have even tried to include you in my harem." Zuyun broke into a cold sweat. Did Bing Ruoji really tell me everything? Seeing Zuyun secretly looking at him, Bing Ruoji shrugged. As a subordinate, she naturally wanted to tell the immortal emperor about Zuyun. "Okay, from today on, you are my immortal friend. Ruoji said you want to go to Purgatory Mountain? In this case, I am too busy to be busy, so I will take you there myself." After the words fell, Beiminjiun stretched out his hand and drew a crack in the void, and then a white ferry boat slowly flew out. "Come, come, I will take you there." An irresistible divine force grabbed Zuyun from afar, and Beiminjiun left a message to Bing Ruoji, "You go find someone, I'll take Zuyun to Purgatory Mountain." The voice was still echoing in his ears, and Zuyun suddenly appeared in Huanyu. In just the blink of an eye, he flew so far? Zuyun stared with disbelief on his face. Is this the strength of the immortal lord? He, Zuyun, am I pretty good at this, right? Your Majesty, you are also an immortal emperor after all, in the realm of an immortal lord. Wrong, Bei Minjiun shook his head and said, no immortal king can teleport from the fairyland to the world. This is limited by the immortal way, not even me. However, the immortal way is limited to people but not limited to others. Artifact, my ice boat belongs to this kind of immortal weapon. Zuyun suddenly understood, nodded, and then heard Bei Minjiun say, I have said that you are now my immortal friend, so don't call me your majesty, call me by my name, or call me Bei Ming, no, just call me Bai Ming, and others will know that I am from the immortal emperor's mansion. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, what are you shouting about? Neither the first name nor the surname is acceptable, and if you don't call him your majesty, the immortal emperor can't call him either. I'm afraid I won't be able to remember my name if I change it. Even though I'm hundreds of thousands of years older than you can't call me sister. Bei Minjiun kept tapping his 2 index fingers, and finally figured it out, how about you call me Xiaobei? Xiaobei. Zuyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but Bei Minjiun responded with a sweet smile, well, it sounds pretty good. Does it sound good? Zuyun doesn't think so. But it's scary. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1679. The dignified immortal emperor turned out to be called Xiaobei, and Zuyun felt like the hairs all over his body stood on end. But intimidated by the opponent's strength, he had no choice but to surrender. With Bei Minjiun leading the way, Zuyun traveled very quickly, and it was impossible to go the wrong way. Just a few days later, Zuyun saw a large mountain suspended in the void of the universe. This was exactly the same as what he saw in the Tianfu space. The only difference is that you can see people constantly patrolling the mountainside. There are even some immortals who have noticed the speeding ferry boat and have already taken a stance. Until the ferry boat approached, they may have recognized some characteristics of the ferry boat, and they all put away the ferry weapons in their hands, and then became solemn. When they reached the foot of Purgatory Mountain, a warden wearing a purple crown came up to him. Immortal Emperor Bai Ming is here. What do you want me to do? The words were polite and the tone was humble, but even Zuyun could faintly feel that this seemed to be just superficial. Bei Minjiun didn't seem to notice anything. He turned to Zuyun behind him and chuckled, I brought a fairy friend. It is said that he is related to your ancestor. The warden immediately looked at Zuyun and suddenly asked in surprise, huh? Zuyun was shocked, and felt a little worried in his heart. Could it be that they could see that I had learned the divine eye technique? He deceived Bei Minjiun. If he was exposed in person, who knows what the consequences would be? If Bei Minjiun gets angry, who can help him bear it? Lin Zhenghong? Even if Lin Zhenghong could do it, he was thrown into the barren rocky mountain of the universe at this time. How could he do it? Xianxia, Zuyun reacted very quickly. He was calm in the face of danger and spoke first. When Xiaoxian was in the lower realm, he met the ancestors' descendants. By chance, he learned the ancestors' changed pupil technique. The name in order to break the void spirit eye technique. This technique is of great help to Xiaoxian in the lower world, so after ascending to the immortal world, the first thing Xiaoxian wanted to do was to come here to express his gratitude, not because he knew the news about the ancestor. That's it, the warden narrowed his eyes. Zuyun felt that his eyes were as if they were real, and he was still a little worried. But the warden did not ask any questions, and turned to Bai Ming Yun and said, Bai Ming Immortal Emperor, I wonder if I can lend you this friend. It just so happened that our Purgatory Mountain visited the northern immortal realm this time, and we didn't have a good time. It's a rare gift for Immortal Emperor Biming to visit, why don't we give him a good reception? Do you have anything fun here? Beiminjiun is like a young girl with a bright smile. It's not fun, but it must be interesting, but I don't know if the Immortal Emperor is interested. Beiminjiun clapped his hands and applauded, as long as you say it's good looking, it will definitely be good looking. I'll give Zuyun to you, but you have to return it to me later. Don't worry, Immortal Emperor, the warden laughed, and then waved to summon someone. Lin Hui, take Immortal Emperor Biming for a nice tour of our Purgatory Mountain. Yes, sir. The warden named Lin Hui turned out to be in the Lushan Immortal realm, but he was so respectful to the person in front of him, which made Zuyun secretly wonder, could he also be an immortal king? When he was wondering, Bei Mingxiu smiled sweetly and said, Zuyun, I'm going to play. I'll meet you here in 3 days. Then you have to do what you promised me. Don't worry, Immortal Emperor. Zuyun responded immediately, but Bei Minjiun frowned, what did you call me? Xiao Bei. Zuyun broke into a cold sweat again, and Bei Minjiun left with satisfaction. But this invisibly put some pressure on the warden's heart. Zuyun, a golden immortal, could actually address Immortal Emperor Biming so affectionately. What's the relationship between them? Could it be that Bei Minjiun wanted to get involved in our Purgatory Mountain, so he deliberately sent this kid? The reason why he wanted to keep Zuyun was actually because he found many doubts about him, but it was temporarily inconvenient to expose them in front of Bei Minjiun. But who would have thought that such a title would make him feel weird again? I don't know how to call the immortal. Seeing Bei Minjiun leaving, the man in front of him looked incomprehensible again, and his intuition made Zuyun feel uneasy again. We in Purgatory Mountain all have the surname Lin. You can just call me Lin Xianxian. Lin Xianxian, isn't this the wrong call? Zuyun smiled bitterly. No, the man shook his head and said, because for the next 3 people, you will only face me, so just follow me. He looked indifferent and did not use any magic. He seemed not to be afraid that Zuyun would escape or something, so he turned around and motioned for Zuyun to follow him. Start from the foot of the mountain and go up the stairs. Zuyun looked at Lin Xianxian while observing the difference in Purgatory Mountain. But after walking for half an hour, Zuyun still didn't notice anything, except for some weird laughter coming from time to time. As for Lin Xianxian, Zuyun could see some clues with his naked eyes. For example, on his waist, there are many immortal weapons that trap people. Shackles, chains, whips. At first glance, these are all high-grade immortal weapons, which must be more than enough to trap him in a golden immortal. Zuyun originally thought that Lin Xianxian would take him straight to the top of the mountain, but when he was halfway up the mountain, he suddenly turned aside from the main road, and then slowly went down the mountain from another road. This Purgatory Mountain doesn't look like much, but walking in it, it really feels like you haven't seen the true face of this mountain. Zuyun couldn't help but ask, Lin Xianxian, where are you going? Since I have a relationship with the ancestor, and I also learned the divine eye technique after the ancestor reformed, I must know some news about the ancestor. There are many evil immortals in the immortal world, how can anyone sneak into our Lin family? Therefore, I need to take you to a secret room. I will let you see the Immortal Emperor again in 3 days, so don't worry. Zuyun said in shock, isn't Purgatory Mountain the land of the Lin family? Why are there evil immortals sneaking in? He said these words unintentionally, which made Lin Xianxian's eyes suddenly become colder. Zuyun had no idea that because of this sentence, he exposed his flaw. However, Lin Xianxian did not show any clues, but was more sure of his guess. The evil immortals' methods are hard to guard against. There is no guarantee that there will be a mysterious way to seize the body, thereby seizing the body of the warden of our Lin family who is out on a mission. Lin Xianxian still explained. These evil immortals are truly abominable. Zuyun also said angrily, he spoke from the bottom of his heart, and was naturally sincere, which surprised Lin Xiangxian a little. He glanced at Zuyun one more time and couldn't help but wonder, did I guess wrong? But he still didn't show anything, but continued, indeed, it is for this reason that we flew from the southern fairyland where evil immortals are rampant to the relatively cold northern fairyland. Although it is a faraway land of evil immortals, because of this, it's even harder for us to catch the evil immortal. Before Zuyun could speak, Lin Xiangxian stopped and said, we're here, right here. Zuyun looked around and saw a bottomless cave in front of him. There was no forbidden formation at the entrance of the cave, but an iron gate. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1680. Are you going to lock me up and interrogate me like a prisoner? Just when Zuyun was confused, Lin Xiangxian pinched an immortal secret in his hand, and the iron fence moved to one side with a clatter, and he walked into it before Zuyun. Seeing Zuyun's surprised expression, he smiled and said, why, are you afraid that I will lock you up like an evil fairy? Don't dare. Zuyun was shocked and said quickly. Don't worry, our purgatory mountain can only imprison evil immortals, not normal immortals. Lin Xiangxian smiled, and even had the mood to explain to Zuyun, you also hid it from Bei Mingxiu, right? In fact, you have already obtained the true divine eye secret of our purgatory mountain. It turns out that the immortal has known about it for a long time. After being directly exposed, Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief and followed into the cave. Click. The iron bars appeared out of thin air again, shutting them both in. Zuyun also saw a flash of formation patterns and couldn't help but be startled. You can see it if you want. Since you have learned the divine eye technique, these formation patterns will not be a problem for you. But seeing and understanding are not the same thing. Zuyun knew clearly that this involved formations, but obviously Lin Xiangxian didn't know that he knew formations. Does this mean he underestimates me? Lin Xiangxian was joking, Purgatory Mountain can trap evil immortals, how can I, a little golden immortal, break it open? You are different from the evil immortal, Lin Xiangxian said. Even if the evil immortal has the most mysterious pupil technique, he cannot see this formation. It takes a lot of time to break through it. But since the existence of Purgatory Mountain, I have never seen this formation. There have been cases of evil immortals escaping from prison. As for you, you can see it, but you may not be able to break it. Do you know who set up our formation on Purgatory Mountain? Seeing that Lin Xiangxian was deliberately cheating, Zuyun followed his words and said, Array Immortal. Good boy, you actually know about the formation Immortal. Lin Xiangxian was a little surprised, but he still shook his head and said, the length of time Purgatory Mountain has existed is not comparable to that of the formation Immortal. If I really want to say it, I can only say that it is the first formation Immortal. It is also well documented. The first Immortal Lord. Of course, I have not experienced that era, but our ancestor has had friendship with him. Zuyun was surprised and said, Ancestor, is he also from that era? You haven't regarded yourself as a person in the immortal world, Lin Xiangxian said with a smile, the longevity of immortals is unbridled. If our ancestors had no accidents, what would it matter if they lived from then to now? Zuyun suddenly realized. Lin Xiangxian is right, his vision has not completely escaped from the lower world. Understood. Lin Xiangxian looked at Zuyun with a half-smile. Understood, Zuyun nodded, and then said, Lin Xiangxian, I don't know what I want to ask the little fairy. I know everything I know, and I won't tell you anything. Seeing that Zuyun was on the road, Lin Xiangxian was also very satisfied. He sat down on the ground casually and said lightly, where did you meet our ancestor? Zuyun immediately said, Huang Mingxing. Huang Xing. Where is that? However, it is normal for Lin Xianxian not to know about a yellow-level world star. Zhu Yun said, it is a yellow-level world star in the southern fairyland. That's where Xiaoxian met the descendants of the ancestors, and it was fate that he first became. I learned their void-breaking spiritual eye technique. Finally, I encountered a trace of the ancestors' remnant in a forbidden place in Huangmingxing. Then, the ancestor passed down the divine eye technique to Xiaoxian in the future. In the immortal world, I came to Purgatory Mountain. But the ancestor didn't say what he was doing here, so when anyone asked, the little immortal always came to Purgatory Mountain to express his gratitude. You should be cautious. Lin Xiangxian glanced at Zhu Yun with admiration and said, our ancestor is the public enemy of the evil immortals in the entire immortal world, and countless evil immortals want to kill him. But, listening to what you said, old man Zhu was at least seriously injured. After pondering for a moment, Lin Xiangxian said, Boy Zhu Yun, have you ever told anyone this news? No. Zhu Yun immediately said, even the Beiming Immortal Emperor and Xiaoxian didn't tell me, so of course. Before he finished speaking, Lin Xiangxian's eyes suddenly focused and fell on Zhu Yun's arms. Then his expression changed and he reached out. When Zhu Yun came to his senses, he suddenly discovered the jade in his hand. Lin Xiangxian's expression was extremely solemn. After carefully examining the immortal weapon, the immortal power of the imperial envoy made the bracelet float in front of him, and then his hands continued to twine and fly, and the golden light of the immortal power quickly woven into a fist-like shape. After a large and small net trapped the bracelet all over, he said coldly, Boy, who gave this fairy weapon to you? Feeling a hidden murderous aura, Zhu Yun was covered in cold sweat. He guessed that Qiu Linjian was uneasy and kind-hearted, but he didn't know that Qiu Linjian knew that he was coming to Purgatory Mountain and wanted to give him this bracelet. It seems that you are unaware of it. Seeing Zhu Yun's expression, Lin Xiangxian softened his tone and said, Don't panic, just tell the truth. Is it Bei Minjian or who is it? Zhu Yun gritted his teeth and said, Qiu Linjian. Not Bei Minjian. Lin Xiangxian was also very surprised by Zhu Yun's answer. A golden immortal who had just arrived from the lower realm was able to see two immortal kings one after another. How virtuous and capable is this son? He narrowed his eyes and said, What is the connection between you and Qiu Linjian? She is the immortal companion of the Chinese immortal emperor Yang, a woman who is as smart as a demon. Don't be offended by the immortal, Zhu Yun said with a bitter smile, because Qiu Linjian also comes from Huangmingxing, so the immortal. Boy, you have been deceived, Lin Xiangxian snorted coldly. Qiu Linjian and Yang are both from heaven-level world stars, the Sky Hammer star. Others don't know it, but we in Purgatory Mountain know it very well. Because before the ancestor disappeared, he was their close friend. Heavenly Hammer star? A heaven-level world star? Zhu Yun was stunned. Is Yang a yellow star? And Huang Mingxing is also rumored to have a long-standing relationship with Qiu Linjian. Yes, Lin Xiangxian said with extremely cold eyes, it seems that the two of them are plotting something big. I think they are using you as a pawn, and even our ancestors are included in the scheme. Lin Xiangxian carefully thought about the doubts, but after all, he knew very little information and could not analyze it at all. Finally, he set his sights on Zhu Yun. Yang's life and death in the Chinese immortal realm are unknown. Qiu Linjian's move may be to inquire about the situation in Purgatory Mountain and seek our help. Or, she is also plotting against our Purgatory Mountain. But there is no doubt that, she must be doing it for Yang. Zhu Yun, for your safety, I suggest you not leave Purgatory Mountain. Leave the rest to me. Zhu Yun suddenly stood up and saw Lin Xiangxian smiled and appeared outside the cave. This is to put him under house arrest here. Lin Xiangxian, this. Lin Xiangxian said meaningfully, Don't worry, I will explain it to him at Bei Minjian. After the words fell, Lin Xiangxian's aura appeared in full force, and he turned out to be an immortal lord. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzwan Xianxia. Chapter 1681. Lin Xianxian still left, and Zuyun felt mixed emotions. It was fine when I came here, but I couldn't go back. There are only a few immortal lords in the entire immortal realm, so why did he meet them so easily? Starting from Nangong Tianli in the lower realm, Qiu Linjian, Bei Minjiun in the upper realm. Not counting the Lianzhen immortal lord and the formation immortal in the immortal mansion. Even Wan Potion, the sword immortal, is very likely to be an immortal lord. In addition, there is Lin Zhenghong. By the way, after he leaves, can't I go see Lin Zhenghong? I don't know how he is doing now. Has he come out of the Tianfu space and gone to the universe world? Thinking of this, Zuyun's eyes suddenly lit up. After watching Lin Xianxian leave, he did not rush to enter the world of the universe, but looked into the depths of the cave. Although this fence was restricted by formations, it could still be seen from the outside. Zuyun naturally chose to go inside the cave. Deep in the dark cave, there was a sinister aura, and there was even a hint of evil energy circulating faintly. Maybe evil immortals were imprisoned here? But then again, since evil immortals are causing trouble in the immortal world, why don't the immortals in Purgatory Mountain kill them, but are they trapped here? Zuyun also suddenly had a question in his mind, but he didn't think much about it. Anyway, he was going to see Lin Zhenghong later. If he woke up, it would be the same if he asked him later. But what Zuyun didn't expect was that the cave was bottomless. After walking for an hour, he still couldn't see the end. After pondering for a moment, he simply condensed his immortal consciousness and spread it towards the depths. Purgatory Mountain is huge. Although Zuyun is still just a golden immortal, it is not difficult for his immortal consciousness to cover the entire Purgatory Mountain. The problem was that even to the end of his immortal consciousness, he still could not reach the bottom of the cave. It can only be said that this cave also contains the laws of space. For now, this is really the only solution that makes sense. Although the laws of space are mysterious, everyone has some superficial understanding of them. Purgatory Mountain is a place that is transcended from the immortal kingdom and directly belongs to the immortal lord. It is not surprising that a cave has such an effect. Forget it, never mind, at least within the scope of my immortal knowledge, there is no danger. Let's go to the great universe world first. Zuyun's heart moved, and his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. After appearing in the world of Dazhu, he went straight to the barren stone mountain. For a long time to come, the changes in the universe will still be visible to the naked eye. The original power has increased a lot. He counted on his fingers and realized that several decades had passed. Good guy, Zuyun, your place is not bad. As soon as he entered the mine in Huangshi Mountain, Zuyun saw Lin Zhenghong. Hey, brother Lin, you're fine. Seeing Lin Zhenghong's natural tone, Zuyun was also happy and said hello. The essence of this world should be transformed by Nangong Tianli's great universe glass mirror, right? I didn't expect that he could achieve this level. Lin Zhenghong helped Zuyun capture Deyu Immortal Mansion. He naturally thought that Zuyun did not have the corresponding ability to allow Deyu World to evolve to this extent. Zuyun was too lazy to explain, and instead said, Brother Lin, since you have woken up, can you return to Purgatory Mountain to take charge? After all, the fairy world is in chaos now, and evil immortals are rampant in the southern fairyland, so you are needed. This matter is not urgent. Lin Zhenghong waved his hand, sat in the mine, and said, Boy Zuyun, tell me first, where did you get this Jixian mountain? Jixian mountain. Zuyun was stunned for a moment and realized that he was talking about Barren Rock Mountain. Sure enough, Barren Rock Mountain also has quite a background. I picked up this mountain. Zuyun made nonsense. Pick it up? Damn it, I have lived for so long and I have never picked up a mountain full of high-grade immortal crystals. If there is such a mountain, how can I be tricked by Nangong Tianli? Lin Zhenghong obviously didn't believe Zuyun's lies, but he also knew that Zuyun didn't want to say it, so he didn't force it, and instead said, in this world, time flows very fast. Boy Zuyun, did you do it on purpose? Do you want me to recover as soon as possible? Brother Lin is awesome. No further questions were asked, which made Zuyun sigh in relief and give a thumbs up with a smile. That's awesome, Lin Zhenghong cursed loudly. I know how much time I spent sleeping, but when I wake up, you still only have the golden immortal. And this world is obviously the way of heaven and not the way of immortality. I'm like this, it can still be felt. The only explanation is that it is in the lower world. Moreover, this heaven is not complete, it is obviously not a complete world. I woke up in this mine originally, but I was born again. It's full of fairy crystals. Besides what you kid did. Lin Zhenghong looked at Zuyun with disdain and said, it seems that you have indeed encountered a problem. Tell me, what is the problem? I can only go back to the fairy world to deal with it after I know it clearly. That's it. Zuyun didn't say anything else, but only summarized what happened in Purgatory Mountain. You mean, Purgatory Mountain is now in the northern immortal realm, and, you met another immortal lord? Zuyun was surprised. Why, shouldn't you be happy that there is an immortal lord in your Lin family? What's your expression? You don't understand, Lin Zhenghong said with a solemn expression, limited by the limitations of the immortal way, we are under the direct jurisdiction of the immortal lord. There can only be one immortal lord in Purgatory Mountain, and that is the Lord of Purgatory Mountain. What do you mean, brother? Purgatory Mountain is going to rebel too? It's very possible. Lin Zhenghong was no longer as calm as before. He stood up with a solemn expression and said, I'm not in a hurry to go out for the time being. You should stay in Purgatory Mountain first. I'll take a good look at the details of this situation. You did the right thing by not taking out the Heaven Talisman directly, otherwise, the entire Purgatory Mountain would be controlled by that person. At that time, I am afraid that all the evil immortals might be released. Zuyun took a breath of cold air. Tianfu is just a book, how can it still have this effect? Lin Zhenghong sneered, why else would Nangong Tianli fight to the death with me? Isn't it because he wants to take away the Sky Talisman and then release all his men to increase his strength? I understand. Zuyun took a deep breath and said, Brother Lin, are you going to stay here or go back to the Immortal Mansion first? Let's stay here, Lin Zhenghong sighed and said, firstly, the speed of time at this time allows me to think more about the key points, and secondly, this Jixian mountain will also help me reshape my body. Zuyun looked Lin Zhenghong up and down, but couldn't see anything unusual. Boy Zuyun, this is just a spell that condenses the soul into reality, not a real entity. Otherwise, if an immortal king like me appears in the world, your world will not be able to bear it and will collapse. Zuyun understood and said, Brother Lin, I'll go back and explore the cave first. No rush. Lin Zhenghong smiled slightly and said, Lin Fei wants to control you with formations, but I'm afraid he will make a mistake. Come on, I will teach you all the formation techniques of Purgatory Mountain. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1682. Zuyun was overjoyed. Originally, he wanted to rely on his own formation to comprehend, but now that Lin Zhenghong has directly taught him the formation of Purgatory Mountain, wouldn't it be possible for him to leave whenever he wants, and not be trapped here anymore? It's just that he doesn't know how Bei Minjiun treats him for the time being. If he is really as good as he seems, he will definitely ask Lin Fei for someone. Come, look into my eyes. Lin Zhenghong spoke, bringing Zhu Yun back to his senses. He quickly stared at it, and instantly felt like he was staring into an abyss. The pair of black pupils were bottomless, and Zhu Yun even felt like he was being sucked into it. Trapped. Locked. Prison. Prohibited. Solid. In Zhu Yun's perception, he was falling, and these characters were constantly twisting and swirling and flying into his body. Zhu Yun, use the divine eye technique. When he was almost lost, Lin Zhenghong's voice rang in his mind like a huge bell from the sky. He was shocked and came back to his senses. He saw from the corner of his eye that he was still in the mine, and he couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. Brother Lin, here we come. He mobilized the chaotic immortal power in his body and used the divine eye technique. The two gazes collided with each other like substance. But there was no sound, but they were completely connected. One word after another, through the gaze, from Lin Zhenghong to Zhu Yun. Heavenly talisman is so mysterious, one word is a talisman, and one talisman is a way. There are 3,000 great ways in the world. But there are more than 3,000 great words in the world. Lin Zhenghong can be said to have passed on all his life's learning in heavenly talisman to Zhu Yun. And how long did he go through? This teleportation technique is not a moment, but counted in years. At the same time, at the top of the Purgatory Mountain. Looking up from below, it looks like an ordinary mountain. But looking down from above, the top of the mountain is a huge round mountain pass. At the bottom of the mountain pass, the red magma rolled, the heat and evil spirits intertwined, and screams came from time to time, as if someone was suffering in the magma. Bei Minjiun was sitting on the side of the circular mountain pass, and next to her was Lin Hui. Lin Hui stood quietly, looking at Bei Minjiun's smooth legs, as if sitting by the lake and playing with water. Are my legs beautiful? Suddenly, Bei Minjiun smiled and looked at Lin Hui. Forgive me, immortal emperor. Lin Hui was shocked, and a sense of death suddenly appeared in his heart. This was a crime of offending the immortal emperor. He immediately knelt on the ground, with his forehead tightly pressed against the rock. I didn't ask you. Bei Minjiun said with a smile, and a figure appeared out of thin air. The immortal emperor Bei Ming is proficient in immortal arts. I was just a breath away, but I was felt by the immortal emperor. Lin Fei appeared, and his face seemed as if nothing had happened. You are too polite, immortal Lord Lin. Bei Minjiun turned around and continued to look down at the magma, saying, I was wrong. I didn't expect you to be an immortal. So, your ancestor Lin Zhenghong probably died together with Nangang Tianli. My name is Fei, and the immortal emperor Bei Ming is in a high position and has great power, so he naturally won't remember the name of such a villain. Lin Fei said with a smile. Bei Minjiun stood up and said, so, you came here to tell me that you want to keep Zhu Yun. Although Zhu Yun is not a member of the Lin family, he has learned the divine eyes technique of our Lin family, so he is naturally from our Purgatory Mountain. I have promised to let him become the prison warden of Purgatory Mountain and do his best to eliminate the evil immortals in the fairy world. However, his realm is still a little low now, so I plan to teach him personally. He, Bei Minjiun suddenly laughed, if the people I brought with me are kept by you and cannot be taken back, I will not be able to raise my head in this fairy world. What is Lin? Lin Fei? Haha, so what if you are an immortal? Don't forget that you are in the northern fairyland now. After the voice fell, Bei Minjiun's aura rose sharply, and shadows of nebulae continued to emerge from behind her. Yes, this is the northern fairyland. Lin Fei was not afraid at all, and sneered, but the place where you are standing is my Purgatory Mountain. I saw that a chain also flew out from Lin Fei's waist. At the same time, he held the book in his left hand and the pen in his right hand, each of which was an extraordinary immortal weapon. What about Purgatory Mountain? At best, it is only equal to my northern immortal realm. If Lin Zhenghong were here, this emperor would give him 3 points. What are you, Lin Fei, for? Bei Minjiun was not polite at all, and even said with disdain, are you going to attack? Come on, this emperor will let you use both hands. As long as this emperor uses one finger, this emperor will lose, and this emperor will turn around and leave. But if you are not as good as this emperor, don't blame this emperor, use your head to talk. Bei Minjiun, you are really arrogant. Lin Fei was despised, but he was an immortal king after all, and his heart was like water, and he was not angry. On the contrary, he was extremely calm, holding the pen and writing a word on the book. Trapped. The word trapped glowed with immortal light, jumped out of the paper and flew towards Bei Minjiun. Your ability is not even comparable to Lin Zhenghong's toes. Bei Minjiun kept his word, put his hands on his waist, and just moved his eyelids, and a series of nebulae rushed forward from behind him, and the word trapped was suddenly dispersed. Lin Fei was unmoved, and wrote furiously, and heavenly talismans flew out from the book. Bei Minjiun also stood in place, with nebulae flowing, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. But every strike would easily dissolve the opponent's heavenly talisman. Lin Fei knew that he was no match for Bei Minjiun in terms of means. But in order to keep Zhu Yun, he had to turn against Bei Minjiun. The 5 immortal emperors had different personalities, and he was originally the first prison envoy under Lin Zhenghong, so he was naturally very familiar with them. If not, he would not dare to have a literary battle with Bei Minjiun. However, in the current situation, he could not defeat it, so he could only seek change from it. It was that chain. Under the control of his immortal thoughts, the chain was like a long snake hidden in the dark, without making any sound, slowly leaning towards Bei Minjiun's back. Bei Minjiun thought highly of herself, and she said she would not take action, and he wanted to use this chain to force Bei Minjiun to take action and let her willingly admit defeat. Bei Minjiun can become a fairy emperor and sit on the throne for so long, she is not an ordinary person. Lin Fei's every move is under her fairy consciousness. It's the same. If it was Lin Zhenghong's chain, she would be afraid. But this is not it. However, Bei Minjiun never expected it. After the chain approached her, Lin Fei showed a strange smile. Bei Minjiun immediately thought it was not good, a nebula surged under her feet, and she flew over the mouth of the volcano. But it was too slow, the chain suddenly emitted a mysterious golden light. Immortal Emperor Bei Ming, I'm sorry, this is Lin Zhenghong's Emperor chain. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1683. Lin Fei, it turns out that your Purgatory Mountain has also colluded with the evil immortal. Bei Minjiun exclaimed, having been hit. She couldn't even move her hands at all, so she was tightly bound by the imperial chain. Jajaja. Lin Fei laughed wildly, and after seeing Bei Minjiun unable to move, he said, you are wrong about one thing, I did not collude with the evil immortal. However, it is a fact that I, Lin Fei, want to be the master of Purgatory Mountain. Bei Minjiun, this is your fault, how dare you treat me with such contempt? You are just a nobody, so what if I despise you? Bei Minjiun's pretty face turned cold. Although she was restrained, there was no way Lin Fei could hurt her. Nobody. Lin Fei touched his face, shook his head, and said, I was a nobody before, but then, my reputation, Lin Fei, started from you and resounded throughout the entire fairy world. After that, he controlled the Emperor chain and flew Bei Minjiun down the mountain pass, heading straight towards the magma. Bei Minjiun's expression finally changed, what do you want to do? Of course I let this normal fire make you give in. Lin Fei said with a smile. I have no evil intentions, Bei Minjiun said with a sneer, you are so right, you won't hurt me even a hair. Really? Lin Fei didn't give any explanation and kept bringing Bei Minjiun to the magma surface. From the moment he flew into the mountain pass, the stone wall was covered with squares like niches. In each square, there was a person tightly tied up with iron chains. There is no doubt that these are evil immortals. From top to bottom, differentiate according to realm. At the top, there is the earth immortal. The further down you go, the higher the realm of evil immortals becomes. But on the bottom level, half of the squares were placed under the magma and the other half were exposed above the magma, but there was no one there. This place is used to burn the evil immortals in the immortal Lord realm. I just didn't expect that it would be left to you, Beiming Immortal Emperor. Lin Fei stopped and controlled the Emperor chain to slowly send Ben Bei Minjiun into the pit. Bei Minjiun looked disdainfully and said, I have said that I have no evil thoughts in my heart, and your righteous fire cannot hurt me. There is no basis for what you say, Lin Fei said calmly, you will know if it can hurt you when the time comes. After seeing Bei Minjiun's lower body plunged into the magma, Lin Fei left a word and then flew away. If it weren't for this Emperor chain, why would our immortal Emperor be afraid of your Purgatory Mountain? Bei Minjiun raised his head slightly, feeling unwilling but also extremely helpless. She was careless. The so-called Emperor chain is the immortal chain that can be used to control the immortal Emperor. The immortal binding chain is the standard immortal weapon of all wardens, and there are unique rules in it. Under the corresponding realm, once you are tied, it is impossible to break free. And Lin Zhenghong's Emperor chain can bet on all the immortals in the immortal world. It is said that there are rumors that Lin Zhenghong can even tie up the immortal lord. The most incredible rumor is that the immortal master disappeared and was also trapped by the Emperor chain. There was just one fight in Purgatory Mountain, and several years had passed in the universe. But the time until Lin Zhenghong's transfer of power was over was far from enough. Fortunately, Lin Fei didn't care about Zhu Yun and waited for 3 days. In these 3 days, 100 years have passed in the world of the universe. He woke up slowly, with countless digits in his mind. Every word is a heavenly talisman. Beyond that, there's everything about Mount Purgatory. Suddenly, Zhu Yun seemed to be the Lord of Purgatory Mountain without the corresponding fairy weapon configuration. Brother Lin, Zhu Yun couldn't digest it for a while. No matter how talented he was, he still lacked the ability to pass on the centuries-old skills from the immortal Lord. It doesn't matter, Lin Zhenghong laughed, and then he straightened his face and said, Zhu Yun, I will most likely be deprived of my position as the mountain master. So, when you are in the mountain, remember to be careful. Bei Minjiun's girl, I could believe it before, but I don't know if I can do it now. The safest solution for now is to steal my Emperor chain back if you have a chance after you go out. If you reshape your body in Jixian Mountain, you can regain your position as the Lord of Purgatory Mountain. Zhu Yun nodded and said, Brother Lin, just rest assured and recover here. Since Lin Fei is looking for you, he will not hurt me for a while. I can afford to wait. What can he do now? We can only accept the facts. I've made you feel wronged, Lin Zhenghong patted Zhu Yun's shoulder and said, Purgatory Mountain is really at stake. If Purgatory Mountain is controlled by traitors, the fairy world will be completely in chaos. Why is Purgatory Mountain so transcendent? Above the 5 great immortal realms. I know that Purgatory Mountain belongs directly to the immortal Lord. Now that the immortal Lord is gone, Purgatory Mountain can be equivalent to the immortal Lord. He already knows about the immortal binding chain in Purgatory Mountain. This is a unique ability of Purgatory Mountain, an ability bestowed by the immortal Deo. If it is used by someone with intentions, the entire fairy world will never have peace. That's right, Lin Zhenghong nodded and said, Zhu Yun, I'm optimistic about you. Then I'll go out first. I don't know if Lin Fei is looking for me. Go ahead, I know him, he won't. After Zhu Yun left the world of Dazhu and returned to the cave he was currently in gave him a very familiar feeling. This is the sleeping immortal cave in Purgatory Mountain. Linfei, you want to put me under house arrest here, I'm afraid you will make a mistake. Zuyun sneered. Linfei was talking about a secret room before, but it turned out to be a place like this. Don't rush out, I'll go down and have a look. Through Lin Zhenghong's teaching, I learned that there is another restriction at the bottom of the immortal cave. This restriction is activated every once in a while, and is used to torture the evil immortals trapped in this cave. However, Lin Zhenghong also said, if there is no evil in his heart, no matter how strong the restriction is, it can't hurt him at all. Although all the information about this restriction is already in his mind, the feeling of understanding and seeing it with his own eyes is completely different. Zuyun plans to take a look. Anyway, if Linfei wants to find me, he will definitely come to this cave. Only if Linfei completely lets down his guard against him, I will have a chance. It's very simple to seize the Emperor Chain. Lin Zhenghong said that after finding the Emperor Chain, you can use the heavenly talisman to put it into the space, unnoticed by gods and ghosts. At that time, you only need to hand over the heavenly talisman and the Emperor Chain to Lin Zhenghong. Lin Zhenghong also said that he has another immortal weapon called the Judgment Pen. However, his magical powers and immortal arts no longer need the Judgment Pen. Zuyun thought that there was no one in the cave, so he naturally stopped hiding his strength. In Linfei's eyes, he was just an ordinary golden immortal. He used the power of chaos to control the longevity technique and went down all the way. It took him an hour to reach the bottom of the cave. There was another world below. Although there was no exit, it was also a restriction. But in the restriction, there were several iron chains locking a dying immortal. This immortal was ragged, but he had an extraordinary aura. Zuyun was stunned. How could there be someone here? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1684. This man was dying but not dead, but just the aura on his body made Zuyun afraid to approach him. But the most important thing is who he is. If you talk about evil immortals, Zuyun can still see the evil aura in his body. But unfortunately, there is no evil in him. Instead, the power of laws that even he couldn't see continued to wrap around him. But it has no effect at all, and will be shattered by the chain, turning it into nothingness. Emperor Chain. Zuyun condensed slightly, wanting to take out the Tian talisman and give it a try. But then I thought about it, it's impossible for the Emperor Chain to have these four. This idea was given up immediately, and Zuyun also realized that since this person was trapped here, there must be a reason. Even if he is not an evil immortal, what if he is also a treacherous and evil person? The biggest question is whether Linfei knows that there is another person here. Thinking of this, Zuyun retreated secretly. He noted down the characteristics of the other person's clothes, and planned to enter the world of Dazu later to ask Lin Zhenghong if he could recognize them. If Linfei didn't know this person, presumably Purgatory Mountain had trapped him here early, and Lin Zhenghong would also know about it. But as soon as Zuyun took a step back, the man who looked like he might die at any time suddenly raised his head, with a pair of hollow eyes, like abyss. There are obviously no eyeballs in it, but Zuyun feels that this is more terrifying than Lin Zhenghong's use of the divine eye technique. At the same time, all the spiritual energy in his body seemed to be suppressed, making him unable to move. Who are you? Zuyun forcibly controlled the Chaos Lotus in his belly, and found that the Chaos Lotus was not affected, and he still had the Chaos Immortal power to use. If you really want to escape, you can directly enter the universe world. Under this, he relaxed a lot. Hey, a traitor is worthy enough to ask me who I am. There were obviously no eyes, but Zuyun saw endless sarcasm. I don't understand what you are saying. Zuyun shook his head and said, I was also trapped here by the people from Purgatory Mountain. Do you think I will believe you? He was tied to the ground by chains, unable to move except for his head. I feel the breath of Shenjingju in your body. You are from Purgatory Mountain. I'm not. Zuyun shook his head and said, I just learned the Divine Eye technique, and I am not a member of the Lin family. A joke, the eyeless man laughed and said, the Divine Eye technique was created by me, and only people of Lin family blood can learn it. How can you, an outsider, learn it? Upon hearing this, Zuyun's brows suddenly tightened. Does Shenjingju have such restrictions? He did not learn the 8 classics from Zheng Er, but Lin Zhenghong taught it to him. Doesn't Lin Zhenghong know? Who is making a fuss about it? Zuyun kept the questions in his mind and said, why should I believe you? Since you don't say it, there is no need for me to pay attention to you. You can continue to wait here. After that, Zuyun planned to leave. He controlled the Chaos Lotus and forced the Chaos Immortal power to break through the eyeless man's imprisonment on him. However, the suppression of the eyeless man still had some influence. Zuyun was not only unable to move forward, but he was also struggling. Interesting, this step is really interesting, and the magic you practice is even more interesting. Zuyun didn't look back and said, my step is called the immortality technique, which means that as long as you can run away, you will live forever. That makes sense. If I had been able to run faster, how could I have been caught by these traitors? It's ridiculous. It was the Divine Eye technique that I created myself. It was locked into the air and I couldn't escape even if I wanted to. The eyeless man actually agreed with Zuyun's words, and there was a sigh in his tone. Zuyun shook his head. Eyeless people were too weird, so it was better to stay away. Wait. At this time, the blind man suddenly spoke and asked, are you really not from the Lin family? Of course I'm not. Do I need to lie to you? Zuyun found it extremely funny, and it was only the first time he met him. In the past few years, many people have come to the Lin family. Although I am blind and trapped here, I can judge the origin of the other person by whether he has learned the magic eye technique. Your voice is indeed unfamiliar, and your level is also low. The Lin family, it's really unlikely that a golden immortal will be sent to you. Zuyun laughed dumbly and said, whether you believe it or not, I don't want to have anything to do with you anyway. Of course, Zuyun would not deal with him before determining where he came from. In this way, boy, if you give me a drop of blood, I can judge whether you are really a member of the Lin family. Zuyun seemed to have heard a joke and asked, why should I give you a drop of blood? Also, am I from the Lin family? Even if I have a relationship with you, what does it matter? I just happened to meet you. The eyeless man shook his head, shook the chain for a while, and then said, boy, if you are not from the Lin family, I can give you a fortune. Zuyun laughed loudly and said, good fortune? Look at yourself, why can you still give me good fortune? Although you don't say that life is worse than death now, you are no different from the dead. As long as you have some ability, you can't do it. You will be trapped here, and you must have been trapped for many years, right? Seeing that Zuyun was so incompetent, the blind man was a little angry and said, you are a little golden immortal, do you have the right to laugh at me? If you go by what you said, wouldn't you be trapped here too? Zuyun disdainfully said, I'm trapped here, but I have the Divine Eye technique. I want to get out, but it just takes a little more time. Impossible, the eyeless man said, the prohibition in Purgatory Mountain contains the immortal way. Even if you have the Divine Eye technique to see the prohibition lines, you can't break it. That's just you. Zuyun didn't bother to explain too much, and said, I can break through what I see. What about the immortal way? There are thousands of formations, different paths to the same goal, as long as there are traces to follow, I can break through it. Because I'm also a formation master. Are you an array master? Array masters are not that easy to break. The eyeless man was slightly surprised, but still didn't believe Zuyun. Zuyun raised his eyebrows. To be honest, this man's aura was very extraordinary. After meeting so many immortal lords, he actually felt that even if this person was not an immortal lord, he was still a Luo Tianshang immortal who was only one step away from the immortal lord realm. Believe it or not is your business, and whether it works or not is my business. After all, I have received the inheritance of the formation immortal. Zuyun shrugged. He didn't know why he had to compete with the blind people. Maybe it was because of his own competitiveness. Also, if you meet the immortal lord more often, your state of mind will change to some extent. Array immortal. The eyeless man immediately opened his mouth. If so, it would really be possible to save him. Boy, are you telling the truth? Feeling that his tone finally changed, Zuyun instead kept silent and walked outside. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1685. Boy, I'm asking you something. Fellow fairy, please stay. Brother, little brother. Can you listen to what I say next? Big brother, big brother. The title changed again and again, because Zuyun walked slowly, otherwise he would not have heard such wonderful changes. Brother, brother, I tell you who I am. The eyeless person was about to cry. Thinking back to that time, when he stamped his feet in the immortal world, the immortal emperors from all directions came to pay homage. Now, I actually asked for a golden immortal? What a shame. However, he did not bear any grudge against Zuyun. After all, my current situation is too difficult. The key is that he saw his opportunity to escape from Zuyun. As long as he can leave here, all these countless years of suffering will not be in vain. Do you think I'm interested in who you are? Zuyun was dismissive, but in fact, he was quite interested. Because the eyeless man said that the divine eye technique was created by him. My name is Xianwujing. The eyes of the eyeless man glowed with the power of the law, and three big characters were condensed in front of Zuyun. Zuyun looked at it intently, and the formation of the characters turned out to be, it has the same effect as when he used the heavenly talisman. If the divine eye technique was really created by him, then Tianfu. Was it written by him too? Sorry, I've never heard of this name. Zuyun said lightly. Of course you haven't heard of it, Xian Wuzong said with a bitter smile. After so many years, I'm afraid no one remembers his name. Sighing, Xian Wuxing said, you may not believe it, but I am the immortal lord of this immortal world. Immortal lord. Zuyun's heart suddenly stirred up a storm. Purgatory Mountain belongs directly to the immortal lord. But the immortal lord is trapped in Purgatory Mountain. He was also imprisoned with his eyes gouged out, and was locked up like a dog. He took a deep breath and said, I really don't believe it. Xian Wujing smiled bitterly and said, I don't believe it either, but it is the fact. If the immortal way had not maintained some contact with me, I would have been tortured to death. Brother, can you tell me, what is the situation in the immortal world now? 5 Emperor Fang, is there a fight? Zuyun calmed down, shook his head and said, the immortal emperors didn't fight, but it's true that the immortal world is in chaos. If the immortal emperor didn't fight, then why would the immortal world be in chaos? Although I am subject to this, the immortal world and the immortal way are still stable. Xian Wuxing didn't believe it, but Zuyun could tell from these words that Xian Wuxing had indeed been trapped here for many years. News of the immortal master's disappearance had already spread in the fairy world, but most of the news he heard was that the immortal master disappeared into chaos. After thinking for a moment, Zuyun then said, evil immortals are running rampant, demons are invading in large numbers, and the 5 immortal realms have their own situations. How can the immortal world not be in chaos amid such internal and external troubles? Demon invasion. Xianxia suddenly became excited and said, how is this possible? The immortal way is extremely stable. If other planes dare to come in, they will be immediately strangled by the immortal way. It may not be possible. If you can get out, you can see it. Zuyun was non-committal. After all, he had seen the demons appear in the fairy world with his own eyes. Brother, you are my eldest brother, can you break the restriction on me? After breaking it, you will be allowed to sit on the throne of Immortal Lord, how about it? Zuyun's eyes widened and he said, will you give up the position of Immortal Master at your will? It's simple, Xianxia said, I will give you the source of the fairy world, and you can become the master of the fairy. If the source of the spring was not in me, how could this little purgatory mountain be trapped? If the source of my life is not destroyed, I will not die. That's why the traitor will trap me here and slowly reduce the connection between me and the immortal world. Even the spring can't save me, then I will be no different from other immortal kings, so I will naturally die here. At that time, there will be no master in the immortal world, and anyone can compete for the position of the immortal master. If there is a new immortal master, the fountain of origin will naturally find the new immortal master and fall into his hands. Zuyun thought for a moment and said, so, if you hand over the position of immortal lord to me, you can go find immortality in the chaos. The news that the immortal lord disappeared into chaos is definitely not groundless. He also felt that Xianxia would not be so kind. Lord of a realm, who doesn't want that? Thinking about those immortal emperors, people would probably break their heads just to sit on them. Big brother is worthy of being a big brother. If you are a golden immortal, you will know about chaos. Xianxia's smile was ugly, and combined with the sightless eyes, it was extremely eye-catching. Zuyun snorted coldly and said, if you are not honest, don't expect me to help you. I will confirm everything you say. Only after I confirm that you are telling the truth will I consider rescuing you. Brother, I didn't lie to you. Think about it, in my situation, who doesn't want to go to a higher level and go out of the fairy world to see a higher world? Zuyun sneered and said, if I were in your situation, I would think about how to get out. Yes, yes, brother said yes. Xianxia broke into a cold sweat. He knew that Zuyun was reminding him to recognize his situation. Brother, can you give me a drop of blood? If you are really not from the Lin family, I can give you a chance. Xianxia did not dare to continue to seduce Zuyun as the immortal master. Seeing that the person became more honest, he changed the topic. Tell me first, what kind of creation it is. Zuyun squinted his eyes. Xianxia had recognized the situation and removed the restraint of the law on him. If he wanted to return to the entrance of the cave, he could do so at any time. A creation that allows you to break through to the great Xianxia in one fell swoop and have extraordinary strength. Xianxia said with great certainty. What kind of fortune is this? Zuyun laughed dumbly, it's not difficult for me to break through. It's just a matter of time. I mean, you can be here, you don't have to do anything, you can just break through. Xianxia emphasized his tone. Oh. Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said, then you tell me first and let me see if you are lying to me. To be honest, his current need for realm is not particularly strong. If it weren't for the time consumption that prevented him from searching for Mengwei and the others, as well as the changes in the fairy world, he would have just understood the laws of time and space on his own and let the world of the universe slowly improve the laws on its own. Brother, you have to give me a drop of blood first to prove that I'm not from the Lin family. Xianxia is extremely persistent on this point. But essence and blood have extraordinary effects. In the immortal world, immortals have all kinds of magical arts. There are 3,000 avenues, but there are also things Zuyun doesn't understand. Who knows if he can use essence and blood to do things that endanger Zuyun. Zuyun didn't dare to take risks. He took a few steps back and said, I can't give you blood essence. I'm not from the Lin family. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. As for creation? Sorry, I'm not interested. Zuyun spread his hands, turned around and left.